Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and yes indeed this is ship updates, and we do actually have a ship update this week. Video content has returned from CIG in the form of Inside Star Citizen, and we got a preview of the new interiors of the Vanguard. Now, of course, several months ago, we got a bit of a preview, a very early preview of the rework of the Vanguard Heavy Fighter's interior. And now we see it in a lot more detail. And we'll get to that in a moment, but look at this cool feature in the Warden. Mind you, it's a heavy fighter. Weapon storage? Look at all that weapon rack space. You can fit a lot of weapons in there, and armor storage as well. I wonder if there are any other Aegis ships that might benefit from these assets. So yes, Around the Verse is officially gone, and it has been replaced by Inside Star Citizen. What is Inside Star Citizen? Well, it's basically Around the Verse, but it is hosted presumably solely by Jared Huckabee. What did we get this week? Well, we got a preview of the new landing area that exists in the upper atmosphere of Crusader, which is a gas giant. This is, of course, the shipyard that I believe technically in the lore was originally a UEE shipyard, then it was taken over by Crusader Industries, and this is where they produce most of their ships. So this is the landing area, the main landing area that is going to exist maybe in lieu of Port Olisar. But yeah, it was pretty much just another Around the Verse. There was the usual awkward comedy moments, but it was pretty good. Also, this, during this interim period where we haven't had Around the Verse, we've continuously had Reverse the Verse, and it's been some good episodes, especially this week's where they dealt with the new mission giver on Area 18. What's her name? Pinky Tabasco. They were dealing with how they created that mission giver, and so there's a lot of insight into the creative process and the limits that they experience when they're creating this content for us. So I very much recommend watching it. But let's get to the really good stuff. So we saw the new interior of the Vanguard. Of course, we did see a preview of this earlier, but it was far from this polished state. And it looks pretty good. They have new areas to store all the components. I guess this wasn't factored into the original design, and so they had to make some changes. And chances are some of these changes are probably going to be reflected for certain needs within Squadron 42 as well. But it's a pretty cool thing. I mean, along with this, just the rework of the interior, which is good. We know that, the Harbinger and the Hoplite have also received similar updates and upgrades. So there's a lot of, knock-on effect for the persistent universe, even if this may be for something, specific in Squadron 42. There's a lot of benefits here, armor storage, weapon storage. Obviously we see the need for that in the persistent universe and how important these things are going to be. And there it is. It's a really cool thing to see. They also showed us the interior of the Harbinger. Now the Harbinger is a little bit different, doesn't really emphasize the weapon storage areas, though I believe there is still some in it. It's mainly focused around the torpedo storage, which you can see a little bit over to your left, and it's going to come more into focus right about now. Here we go. And so as the pilot's firing torpedoes, you're going to see them kind of lower down and drop out of the bottom of the ship. And this, of course, is the interior of the hoplite. So it was all really, really cool, to see this and to see that it really reflects the physical realities and the physical needs of the Star Citizen universe. This is absolutely fantastic. This is a ship that has existed for quite some time and has had something of a troubled history. But to see it getting so much love and so much of a refactor, it kind of puts this ship back in the running, probably in a lot of people's heads. One of the things that you're certainly going to notice in the new reality of Star Citizen in 3.5 is travel limitations and travel annoyances can be really daunting for players, and there's a big convenience factor to be considered. And certainly a ship like the Vanguard that has proven lately to be hitting very, very hard and to be quite manageable to fly. Now, when you factor in things like the added range that it can travel across a star system, and then factor in the ability to carry weapons, and not just the hoplite version, but even the base Vanguard, the Vanguard Warden has that ability as well. And clearly, even though it's not technically quote unquote secured cargo space, there's plenty of space there to put down various mission objects while you're off doing whatever you do in the Star Citizen universe. So that's something that when you factor in all these things together, that kind of really increases the stock and the value, or in my opinion, increases the value of the Vanguard. There's a lot of other things that kind of go along with that and make me kind of look at the Vanguard and go, recently, several months ago, I had picked up the Vanguard again. I was someone who bought the original Vanguard and had very high hopes for that ship. And as it kind of came into the game and as we played with it, it really didn't kind of live up to that. And it was a very troubled ship. And then, I recommended some changes. And unfortunately, some of those changes were not factored in. I wanted to be able to change the nose guns to whatever I wanted, but it still is a very strong ship. And when you figure the realities of having to travel some of these very daunting distances, it does become a lot more attractive as something to own in the universe. And it may cause a lot of, former owners, myself included, to kind of go back and look at it again. Now, is this enough to make me switch? Is this enough to, say, make me give up my Cutlass for a Vanguard? Seeing all these new changes and all these impressive new features in the Vanguard. And I have to say that if I were completely combat focused, if I were going out and solely doing missions where it's go blow up this thing, then go blow up that thing, I would probably be a lot more leaning towards the Vanguard than I currently am. But for me, the reality is somewhat different than it may be for you. I still look at the Cutlass, and for what I need, I kind of see a superior ship. And I don't mean superior in terms of combat, because I think that clearly the Vanguard should come out on top in most dogfights with the Cutlass, factoring, two equally skilled pilots. Flexibility really is a big thing for a pirate. Sure, with the Vanguard, I can take a few pieces of cargo, but what if the cargo that I happen to snag happens to be a lot more substantial? You can't really tell when opportunities are going to arise. And though I don't dispute that the Vanguard should be generally a better performing ship in combat, for a pirate, I think you need to look a little bit more towards flexibility and affordability. And I think that that is kind of where the Cutlass kind of comes out on top for my intended playstyle. So I don't mean to say that I think that the Cutlass is better. I just think that you have to factor in your playstyle, your expectations, your budget. And I think that for me, from my perspective, the Cutlass is still the superior ship. In a one-for-one competition, if I could only own one or the other, I would probably go Cutlass 9 times out of 10. So even though I recently did scoop up a Vanguard again as a buyback and try it out, and I was impressed and I did enjoy flying it, and it was a good ship in my opinion, is it good enough to replace the go anywhere, do anything Cutlass? Not really. I still hold out a little hope for the one variant of the Vanguard that they didn't show us, which is the Vanguard Sentinel. So hopefully that, along with electronic warfare, are forthcoming at some point in the future. But for now, I think I'm going to stick with the Cuddy. Anyways, that's the show for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.